Ceasefire dates were declared today that could end long, hard-fought wars on two continents. Effective immediately, truce in southern Africa. A timetable for Cuban withdrawal from Angola is to be decided by September 1. South Africa will then start leaving Namibia and work for Namibian independence next year. At the United Nations, formal word that the Persian Gulf War will end 12 days from now. More about that from Richard Schlesinger.
After 8 years of fighting, after more than 1 million casualties, Iran and Iraq have finally decided to call it quits. At the United Nations today, Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar announced the agreement.
I now call upon the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Republic of Iraq to observe a ceasefire as of 0300 hours GMT on 20 August 1988.
Negotiations were deadlocked over Iranian refusals to talk face-to-face with Iraq. Under a compromise, direct talks will be held immediately after the fighting stops. Other terms of the ceasefire agreement call for a withdrawal of all troops to internationally recognized borders, an exchange of prisoners, and a special inquiry into which side began the war. About 350 UN peacekeeping troops will be sent to the region to monitor the truce. Both sides fought this war with uncommon viciousness. Iraq used chemical weapons against the Iranians. The Ayatollah Khomeini sent hundreds of thousands of Iranians to their deaths in human waves against superior Iraqi firepower. Iran was losing the war when it finally and reluctantly agreed to a ceasefire.
Khomeini drank his cup of poison first, and I think the Iraqis have now had to sip of their poison as well.
Some experts believe Iraq was facing a cutoff of economic aid from other Arab states if the war continued. The fighting and the attacks on Persian Gulf shipping had become too dangerous. The war simply had become bad for business.
When it began interfering with shipping in the Gulf, the world suddenly became aware of the war. It began hurting everybody else.
Ironically, it might have been the tragic U.S. downing of the Iran Air jetliner that led to the ceasefire. It brought Iran to the United Nations, and some believe the incident served as a catalyst in the search for peace. The Defense Department says the U.S. naval presence in the Persian Gulf will not be reduced until the fighting actually stops. But today, President Reagan applauded the ceasefire.
This is news the world has waited for and the United States has pressed for, news that we may finally see an end to that long and bloody war.
The real losers in the Iran-Iraq war could be the governments of Iran and Iraq. After nearly a decade of fighting and the staggering death toll, neither side has won anything, something both governments will now have to explain to their people. Dan?
Thanks, Richard.